Since I've seen several people recently ask this question in various online forums, I thought this would be a good opportunity to address it in one of my videos. In this video, I will show you how I sew on the collar tabs to my Soviet greatcoats and tunics. My method involves using a sewing machine to do most of the work, then finishing with some simple hand sewing. This technique is very commonly found on original uniforms. First, I will demonstrate how I sew on the early style rank collar tabs to a tunic. While I am demonstrating this with the set of 1935 pattern raspberry infantry tabs, the same method is used to attach 1941 pattern subdued tabs, as well as the 1943 collar tabs used on late war greatcoats. The thing you want to do when you're setting up your machine is to make sure you have the right thread colors. For the early war 1935 pattern, I'm going to be using black on both the bobbin and the main thread, because I'll be going around this black outer edge. But if you're doing a 41 subdued or the later 1943 greatcoat collar tabs, you'll either want a green or an olive colored thread instead. So here on the collar, you're going to line it up in the center where you're going to be. And then here on the back of the tab, there's a line where there's a backing material and there's just extra material. You want to line that up with the edge before you start sewing, so that there's an overhang over the edge of the collar. So here we have the machine sewing done on this tab. As you can see, the bottom of the tab is parallel to the bottom of the collar. It's not wrinkled, and with the black thread staying in the outside border, you can't see any of the stitching. Notice how I left this overhanging so that I can finish this up with hand sewing. I've got a needle and thread, and I am going to hand sew down the back of this. So the overhanging part of your collar tab material, you're going to fold under so that you got some hanging over the edge. And then I'm going to hand sew this. And that's that. The extra material is tacked down neatly underneath the collar. There's a nice folded edge, and it looks very clean and neat. Finally, I will demonstrate how I sew on the 1935 style greatcoat collar tabs. Again, I am demonstrating with a pair of 1935 pattern raspberry tabs, but this method is the same for the later subdued 1941 pattern tabs. So on these 1935 style collar tabs for a greatcoat, you'll notice that there is this backing material underneath here. And what you want to do is on your collar, you want to line up the point of the collar with that backing material. And that'll give you about the right overlap on all sides for you to sew down the back edge. And then we are going to use our sewing machine, and we're going to sew along this black edge. And then, just like with the tunic collar disc, we'll turn it over and we'll tack down the back side with hand sewing. I find it helpful to use some pins to keep everything in place while I'm machine sewing. There's machine sewing done. And just like hand sewing the back side of the other tunic collar discs, we're going to use the same method. We're going to fold everything over and we'll sew it in place with the needle and thread. The only difference is that up here in this corner, in order to account for all this bunching, we're going to pinch in both corners and then flatten down the end, and that'll make everything look nice and neat up underneath. Notice how I sewed down all of these edges with one part and I left the corner. So what I'll do is I will now flatten this out and I will hand sew just this forward edge to make everything look nice and neat. And that's that. Everything is nice and neatly tacked down, and it's looks neat on the front, and it's all set, ready to go. I hope that this video will be useful and helpful to those who are looking to sew on the collar tabs to their Soviet uniforms and greatcoats. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.